Hello, I'm Joan Hughes, and I'm one of the co-authors of the text, Integrating Educational Technology into Teaching, Transforming Learning Across Disciplines. This is a text aimed to support pre-service and in-service teacher development on technology integration. And I'd like to acknowledge my co-author, Peggy Roblier. This book is organized into 4 sections. The first 3 chapters define educational technology, provide inspiration with emerging trends, explain how learning theories impact pedagogical approaches with technology, and positions all teachers as technology leaders who must be planful when designing technology-supported lessons. In chapters 4 and 5, we introduce device configurations for the classroom and software that supports writing and publishing, representation of ideas, data and analysis, planning and organizing, and assessment. In chapters 6 through 8, we introduce web-based content, such as the process of searching the web for content, as well as resources to existing educational content, such as archived content or interactive, immersive, or live content, and open educational resources. It also covers how the web is used for communication, collaboration, web design, creation, and making, including activities such as digital storytelling, publishing, bookmaking, portfolios, audio and video development, and computer programming. Finally, chapter 8 covers blended teaching models and online course development. That's half of the book. The other half of the book in chapters 9 through 15 are subject specific, and they outline key disciplinary issues and requisite technological resources for subject areas, including special education, English and language arts, English learners and foreign languages, STEM, including engineering, social studies, music and art, and physical and health education. These chapters' content reflect many of the resources presented in the early chapters, chapters 1 through 8, but in a subject-specific context. These chapters are also co-authored with a content area expert. There are a couple core ideas that frame the entire book. First, we define educational technology as a process and a set of resources. Educational processes are at the heart, and we acknowledge the role of learning theories, pedagogy, and curriculum or content. Second, a teacher has access to different technology resources, such as tools, support, and expertise. Finally, bringing those two together, you have educational technology, which are technological resources leveraged to support specific educational processes, which is the definition operating in our text. In this graphic, we use the same educational technology components to emphasize the process of integrating educational technology. So a teacher would consider the educational processes in her context to identify problems of practice, and then consider the technology resources. She can identify technological possibilities that might target this problem of practice. And lastly, she would use these resources as a form of educational technology in a learning environment. She would also assess if her use of the EdTech solved her problems of practice in ways that replace, amplify, or transform teaching and learning. Our technology integration planning model, which is shown here, is the backbone to the content in this text. Framing teachers as technology leaders, our model scaffolds them through a phased process in which they can first analyze the learning and teaching assets and needs in their context, where they ultimately identify the problems of practice. Then they design how they'll integrate technology and implement the lesson. They analyze the results, make revisions, and share their lesson accomplishments with others. This model is meant to be a guide that, with use over time, becomes a way of thinking through lesson planning. It reminds teachers to consider what they and others bring to the learning task and to contribute as a leader by sharing their accomplishments and progress with colleagues. This model, as a backbone of the text, is introduced in chapter 2 and then is integrated into every chapter, as I'll explain. So here are a series of key pedagogical features which are integrated throughout the whole text. First, there are these features work together to help teachers develop their abilities to integrate technology mindfully. So each chapter opens with a technology integration in action scenario, which is a classroom-based example that enacts the technology integration planning model that I've just described in slide 5, but in a real classroom situation with a teacher thinking through that planning process. And the topic of the scenario that opens the chapter reflects the key technological topics within that chapter. Throughout the text, there are also embedded videos that exemplify technology-supported learning among learners in classrooms, or the videos depict teacher planning and decision-making in teacher interviews, or some perspectives from school leaders. Some of these videos are embedded like this one, and some are links to public YouTube videos, which broadens our connection to existing content. There are also technology integration examples, which are shorter lesson examples, exemplifying the digital learning topics within the chapter. In this example, students studying a foreign language create a travel itinerary modeled after, say, the New York Times' 36 Hours in a Place feature, where they plan a 36 hours in a location. So students doing this would plan a day visit to a museum and its surrounding area in a country that uses the target language of study. Depending on the language experience, students could create the itinerary in the target language. In this project, students might use the web, video or VR tours of the museum, Google Maps and Earth to examine the sense of place, word processing or other representation software to communicate their itinerary with images licensed for reuse. There are teacher growth sections at the end of all of the content area chapters, which provide a rubric for self-assessment and offer strategies for continued learning and leadership development. They all end with suggested content area organizations and Twitter hashtags and communities that teachers can follow to engage with others. There's also a workshop at the end of each chapter that leads teachers back to the opening scenario and many of the technology integration examples to work with them in more depth, so they can identify even more technology integration lesson possibilities and evaluate those ideas using the included evaluation checklists and rubrics. There are several interactive, built-in formative and summative assessments. For example, each learning outcome in each chapter has 3 to 4 multiple choice questions that help students check their understanding of the material as they work through a chapter. Interactive application exercises are also integrated throughout the chapter with, for example, students may be asked to interpret a key strategy that is exemplified in a particular video. Shared writing prompts and scenarios are popular and lead to more open-ended contributions from the learners. All of these have built-in feedback that learners receive after they engage in these kinds of assessments. As described in slide 10, at the end of each chapter, there's also an extensive workshop on technology integration planning. And finally, instructor materials have been prepared by me, the author, for adopters, which includes lesson ideas for each chapter, another test bank of multiple choice and essay questions, and slide decks for your use. This textbook comes in several different formats. There is a digital environment built by the publisher, which is called Revel, and it's essentially an electronic book available online that includes all of the interactive features, videos, quizzes, assessments, etc. There's also a package which combines a printed version of the text with an access card to access the Revel digital environment. And again, that has all the same features, just that the students may have also access to a print version. There's also digital formats sold, which are Adobe Reader ebooks. These do not have interactive elements. They're essentially the same thing as the print textbook, but don't have any interactivity. And then there is just simply a print or paper version, which has, again, no access to the interactive features because it is a print only.